Think about the last home you walked into that made you exhale. Not a house decorated for company, not the frantic once-over an hour before guests show up. I mean a home that just felt settled. Nothing screaming for attention, nobody running around, and yet somehow it worked. 9 times out of 10, that home belongs to someone who's been keeping house for 40, 50, 60 years. And here's what almost nobody tells you. They didn't get there by working harder. They got there by working smaller. A pile of quiet, almost invisible habits, done so many times over so many years that they stopped even registering as chores. Welcome to Silver Life Hacks 65 Plus. This channel runs on one idea. The second half of life deserves routines that actually fit your body and your pace, not some exhausting all-day cleaning marathon built for a 25-year-old with a studio apartment and too much energy. If you've ever felt like your house is running you instead of the other way around, stick with me. By the end of this, you'll have 17 habits you can start using today. Plus, one closing thought that might change how you think about cleaning altogether. Let's get into it. Most of us were raised to clean the way our mothers cleaned. Pick a room, finish it completely, move on. Fine plan when your whole world is one bedroom. Falls apart fast once you're running an entire house, especially with a body that isn't thrilled about an hour of kneeling or bending or standing at a sink. Here's the trap, and honestly, you've probably lived it. You walk into the kitchen to wash a pan. Notice mail on the table. Carry it to the desk. Realize the plant needs water. 40 minutes gone. You've touched 5 rooms and finished exactly none of them. That's not a discipline problem. I want to be really clear about that. That's just how attention works. It jumps to whatever's loudest in the moment. So the fix isn't trying harder. It's switching from room by room to pass by pass. Instead of finishing one room top to bottom, you make one simple pass through the whole house, clearing surfaces, say, before starting the next pass, like wiping them down. Every room gets a little better at the same time, instead of one room shining while 3 others just sit there. Keep that in your back pocket. A few of the habits below lean on exactly this. The folks I hear about with the calmest homes rarely mention some big nightly cleanup. What they describe is smaller. A short loop through the main rooms before bed. A cup gets rinsed. A cushion gets fluffed. Slippers land back by the door. Nothing dramatic, and that's kind of the whole point. You're not chasing a spotless house by midnight. You're just making sure tomorrow doesn't ambush you before you've had coffee. A spill wiped up in 10 seconds costs you almost nothing. That same spill, left for 6 hours, turns into a job that needs a scrub brush and a little patience you weren't planning on spending. Think of tiny messes like tiny bills. Pay them off the second they show up, and they never turn into a debt you owe your future self. Somewhere in the house, closet shelf, under the bed, wherever, keep a box that's always open for giving things away. A sweater that doesn't fit anymore, a book you've already read twice, a gadget nobody's touched in a year. It goes in the box, not back on the shelf. No big dramatic weekend purge needed, just a slow, steady valve that keeps things from piling up faster than they leave. Not every room earns equal effort, and trying to give it that is a recipe for burning out. The kitchen, the main bathroom, the living room, those 3 absorb almost all your daily wear. Protect those first.
A guest room that sees company twice a year doesn't need the same weekly attention, and letting it slide a little isn't failure. It's just good judgment. Make the bed. Under 2 minutes, and somehow it instantly makes the whole room look done. Crack a window. Let some air move. Clear whatever landed on the kitchen table last night. A mug, a jacket, whatever. That's it. Not a chore list. More like a warm-up that sets the tone before your coffee's even ready. Clutter usually isn't about owning too much. It's about things having nowhere specific to live, so they end up wherever they were last used. A tray by the door for keys and glasses, a basket for remotes. When something has exactly one spot, putting it away stops being a decision. It just becomes automatic. And here's a piece a lot of cleaning advice skips. If something keeps drifting back to the same random surface week after week, scissors, a charger, whatever, that's not a sign you need to try harder. It's a sign you picked the wrong spot for it in the first place. Move its home closer to where you actually use the thing. Watch how much less often it wanders off.
Set a timer, 10-15 minutes. Work with focus. When it rings, stop. Doesn't matter if the job feels finished. Half a task done over and over beats one exhausting marathon day that wipes you out for the rest of the week. A small caddy under each sink, a duster in the hall closet, a little wipe-down kit tucked beside your favorite chair. When the tools are already there, a 2-minute job stays a 2-minute job. The gap between I should wipe that and actually doing it, 9 times out of 10, it's just about how far you have to walk for the cloth. This one comes up more than you'd expect in conversations with people who describe their homes as peaceful, not just clean. A small plant on the windowsill, a jar of cut flowers by the sink. If you don't have a green thumb, don't sweat it. Pothos and snake plants forgive almost anything, including the watering schedule you meant to keep and didn't. A chore done purely out of obligation gets skipped the second motivation dips. A chore tied to something that actually means something to you, that one sticks. Maybe you wipe the counters every night because it reminds you of a parent who always kept that room as the heart of the house. Find the why. The habit tends to take care of itself after that. Windows, mattresses, deep closet sorting. None of that needs weekly attention, not even close. Handle it once a season instead, and let it feel more like a ritual tied to the changing weather than one more dreaded line on a checklist. A reading chair with a small table nearby for books, a drawer that's entirely only for cards or crafts, a yoga mat that stays rolled out in the same corner, always ready. Giving each activity its own little zone does 2 things at once: keeps stuff from spreading everywhere and makes it easier to actually use the things you own. Some of the calmest homes I've heard about belong to people who just stopped cleaning alone. A phone call with a grandchild while folding towels, a favorite podcast running during the dishes. Pair the chore with connection and it stops feeling like time lost. It starts feeling like time well spent. Instead of a full top-to-bottom scrub every single weekend, rotate it. This week, fridge, stove. Next week, bathroom. Then the bedroom. Then the windows. By the end of the month, the whole house has had a real thorough pass, and no single day ever felt overwhelming. Assign certain days to certain loads, and fold it right when the dryer buzzes, instead of letting clean clothes sit in a basket for 3 days. A folded, put-away load. A grandchild folds towels a little unevenly. A son loads the dishwasher in an order you never would have picked. It still lightens your load. Holding every task to your exact personal standard means you end up doing everything alone. And honestly, that's a heavier burden than it needs to be. This last one isn't really a task. It's a mindset, and it might matter more than all 16 habits before it combined. A home is never permanently finished. There's always another load of laundry coming, another surface that'll collect dust again by next week. The goal was never a museum. It was a home clean enough to welcome a friend without embarrassment, and calm enough to actually enjoy living in. A word directly to anyone watching who feels limited by age, by joints, by a body that just doesn't move the way it used to. Not one of these 17 habits requires strength or speed. Wiping a counter takes seconds. Rinsing a cup takes seconds. And if a task asks you to kneel or reach overhead or risk your balance, modify it. Ask for help or just skip it. A little dust on a high shelf is a far smaller problem than a fall, truly. Schedule the more physical stuff for whatever part of the day your energy actually runs highest, and save the lighter jobs, sorting mail, tidying a drawer, for when you're more likely to be tired. There's no rule anywhere that says a house has to be cleaned in a particular order. Match the task to your energy, not to some imaginary schedule in your head, and you'll stay consistent a lot longer than any routine built purely on willpower. A calm home isn't built in a weekend, and it's definitely not built by copying someone else's picture-perfect living room off the internet. It's built through small, boring, repeatable choices made quietly over years. So, rinse 1 cup tonight before bed. This weekend, set a 15-minute timer and see how far it actually gets you. Pick 1 drawer. Give everything in it a real home. Start with 1 habit. Let it settle in. Then add the next. If any of this reminded you of your own home or of someone who taught you these habits in the first place, drop a comment and let me know which one you're trying first. I read every single one, and honestly, some of the best ideas on this channel have come from people watching, not from me. If this was useful, a like helps it reach more people who could use a little encouragement and a clearer, gentler path forward with their own home. I'll be back soon with another one for Silver Life Hacks 65+, built for real homes, real bodies, real life. Until then, take care of your space and let your space take care of you.